Practicing mindfulness, we'll come to understand the idea of anchoring our focus. This anchor can simply be an object, a sensation, a memory, a thought, anything we can use as a point to focus and concentrate our attention on. In this exercise, we will focus on using the breath as our anchor. Concentrating on the breathing is a useful mindful exercise because it can help us to relax, feel calm, and because it's always there and free to use. The breath can be a helpful tool that can bring our focus back to the present, as well as to help slow and calm the body and mind. Finding a space to just notice that the body is breathing. Now, this might be most easily noticed around the stomach, perhaps the lungs filling and emptying as the breath comes and goes. Maybe around the chest, we might be able to notice a gentle rise and fall as the breath comes on the in-breath and as the breath leaves on the out-breath. For some of us, it might be easy to notice the breath around the face. You may be able to feel the flow of air in through the nose. You may be able to feel the air leaving on the out-breath. So perhaps taking just a few moments to notice where the breath is most easily observed. Around the stomach, around the chest, or around the face. And it might be easy to deliberately breathe a bit more deeply than we might naturally do, really extending the in-breath, really making it longer and deeper. It might be easier to notice that way. We can feel the muscles expand and the body move. And really making the out-breath longer, deeper, might help us to identify where in the body we can fix our attention as the breath comes and goes. If it feels comfortable, we could perhaps slow those movements down a little bit. So as the breath comes in, we very deliberately, very slowly allowing the air into the lungs. And on the out-breath, very deliberately, very slowly, gently squeezing the air out. And this might feel strange if we've never done this kind of practice before. That's okay. Just gently guide your attention back to anchoring on the breath. Each time you notice it might feel a little bit odd or feel distracted. At the end of the next breath out, just seeing if you can really notice the very first movement, starting the in-breath. So that very first little expansion as the air comes in and as the chest begins to expand. See if you can follow that breath all the way through to when the lungs are full. Noticing all the movements involved. And on the out breath, seeing if you can notice the very beginning of the breath out, following it all the way through to the end. Really tuning that attention into the breath in the body. Just watch it come and go for a few moments. if at any point the mind wanders off somewhere else, maybe noticing how we're feeling or our body, maybe some feelings of sensations or uncomfortableness, or maybe distracted by thoughts, whatever else is going on for us. Just noticing if that distraction does arise, and remembering this is just what the mind does. It tends to flit here and there during the day. So if you notice this distraction, just bring the mind, the concentration, back to the breath, following it all the way in, all the way out. And if it's comfortable, again, slowing down, deepening the movements. So we're breathing as deeply and as slowly as it feels comfortable for you. Very slowly and very gradual movements, allowing the lungs to fill with air. And very slowly, very gradually allowing the lungs to empty and the breath out. At the end of the next out breath, if it feels comfortable, starting to notice that little pause before breathing in again. And at the end of the in-breath, there might be a natural pause, a short space just where the body rests in between the cycle of the breath before breathing out again. So at the end of the in-breath and the end of the out-breath, there is a natural rest, just a very brief pause before the cycle of the next in-breath or out-breath starts. Just observing this for yourself, that short space where the breathing cycle comes to stillness. And at the end of the next breath out, perhaps just allowing that stillness a little longer, only as far as it's comfortable before breathing in again. And at the end of the in-breath, again just holding that space, allowing that rest, that pause, a little longer than perhaps normal before breathing out again. So breathing in, expanding and filling the lungs, and then pausing, just holding some space for the body, some stillness, only to your own level of comfort before breathing out again. And at the end of the out breath, allowing the body some space to be still before continuing with the breath in again. We'll follow the cycle of the breath like this just for a few more minutes before before we start to bring the practice to a close. Really seeing how much of the whole of the cycle of the breath, right from the beginning, all the way to the first pause at the end of the in-breath. And the first movements starting the out-breath. And then holding that space, allowing some stillness before breathing in again. Really exploring and observing the changes in the body, just noticing the breath. And if the mind wanders anywhere else, just gently guiding that concentration back onto the breath again. At the end of the next breath out, we'll slowly begin to bring the practice to an end. So perhaps in your own time, maybe allowing any movement into the body if something feels that maybe it could do with some gently rotating or stretching. Taking a few deep breaths perhaps, relieving any tension. And allowing yourself a little space just to very gently bring the practice to a close. After the breathing practice, see if you can become aware of your breath at different points during the day. Do you find it more difficult to be mindful of breathing under different circumstances? For example, whilst talking to others, eating, or just completing daily chores and routines? Can you notice the pace of your breath after encounters with other people? Perhaps breathing is more rapid when around others socially. See if you can use awareness of your breath to gain some insight, some understanding into your state of mind at the time. When you're rushed, when you're relaxed, when you're agitated or anxious. Breath is a useful tool for self-inquiry, and with practice we can come to see the onset of challenging states of mind, depression, anger, anxiety, by coming back to the breath.